You make your YouTube debut. Just kidding.
Hi, buddy. Perfect boyo.
Scoutie's first collab.
Hi. Hello. Hi. I have a friend with me. This is I don't usually have like people on my channel besides Connor, so this is very exciting. This is my friend / castmate, Meredith.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here. We're working on the show Teenage Dick together at Seattle Rep, which closes this coming weekend. So by the time you see this video, it will probably be done. But I know. It was a great time though. This is my first time doing like a top down. Oh, there you go. Doing like a top down, like 2 camera situation. So if there's any weird fumbles, that's why. But we're basically just gonna be making stuff and chatting.
Sounds
so great, fantastic. I would love for you to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Meredith. I use they them pronouns. Like Shan said, I'm in Teenage Dick on Seattle Rep with them. I am, at this point, I would say loosely based in Chicago.
You're very nomadic.
I'm very nomadic, so I travel around a lot. And yeah, I talk a lot about that, like on my channel.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes, they also have a YouTube channel, which is why we're doing this collab. So, but yes, they also have a YouTube channel, which will be in the description box below. Yeah. What do you talk about, like on your channel and stuff? Like, what's the stuff that you focus on?
I would say I mostly focus on talking about disability. I use a wheelchair. You can't see it, and my service dog is like over here.
I did get a clip of Scout.
Oh,
so
you did.
I did. Scout is a very good boy.
Yeah, I talk about disability and chronic illness a lot, and I talk about LGBTQ plus things, and really mostly just the intersection of those 2 things and how it impacts my life and my life as a performer and being a digital nomad, half digital, half touring performer. There's not really a good word for that.
Yeah, I guess so. Oh, that's so.
If this was an elevator pitch, the person would have already been on their floor.
But that's the hardest thing about I think that's the hardest thing about talking about like making stuff on the internet for a living, especially when you do like a lot of things. You're like, well, it's really hard to do an elevator pitch that's like succinct and comprehensive.
I would say when I do an elevator pitch, I generally just like leave out the things that I talk about the least.
Oh yeah.
I talk about being a professional performer and patient.
Oh, ooh, that's cool.
Yeah. Oh, queer disabled professional.
Queer disabled professional performer. Yeah, like Meredith tours a lot, which sounds not even like accounting for being disabled. It already sounds exhausting.
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Because I've always admired actors who just seem to be like constantly be doing like musical tours or like play tours of any kind, because I am such a homebody and I'm such like a person who really relishes in having a home base. So losing that is just very scary to me. So what is that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, should I start drawing?
Yeah, you can start drawing. You can
Don't
do
make
whatever
fun of
you
my
want.
Boston accent.
Drawing?
I can already see the comments. I grew up in the like suburbs of Massachusetts. So I'm like my whole life just like, oh, I can't wait to like get out.
Oh,
and I'm the oldest of 6. So we would do like vacations, maybe like to Cape Cod, or like we'd go up to Maine to go camping, but I never went like anywhere like really far for travel, like growing up. And even like throughout college. And then I really didn't start traveling until I started performing professionally.
And when did you start performing professionally?
I guess technically 2013.
Wow.
I did like a commercial, but I really didn't do anything that wasn't like school related again until 2017 when I got my first job in a physically integrated dance company. And that was like a repertory company. So basically meaning like different choreographers come in and whatever kind of style their choreography is, like I was like expected to do. So I think like in that sense it made me like a pretty versatile performer, if I do say so myself.
And you should absolutely say yourself. So.
Where was I going? Yeah, touring. So that was like, it's interesting. I've done a couple different kinds of touring. I've done being in the repertory company. It was a touring repertory company, but I had an apartment in Cleveland when I was doing that. And so like I would be like at my apartment and I would like learn material, and then like I'd go off for like a day, a week, a weekend, and go perform.
Cool.
And then like I'd come back, and I did that for a little while, a couple years, and then after that is when I like got rid of all my stuff and started like really nomading. And I still say like touring even when I'm doing like an out of town contract like this, like because there's tours where it's set up. Like I went like when I just did the Grinch Stole Christmas tour.
Right.
Yeah, it was really
Were you a who?
I was a who. Yeah, I was Punky Who.
It's so cute.
And I had to learn how like who walk and stuff. And
how did who walk? Is it like a? They have like
well, okay, I'm just gonna pick up my one-line drawing.
That's fine.
From there.
That's
so
fine.
It's a little not kosher, but
oh, I'm sorry.
It's like I don't know if you can really
yeah, no, but it's like very much hands out, like a little penguin.
Yeah, and then like everyone's in like plie. I just kind of waddle because I'm in a wheelchair.
Yes.
But they also they do this thing like if you were a younger who than me, you can what's it called? If Grinch people are watching this, don't hate me. Oh my god, I don't remember what it's called. You go like this.
Oh.
And then the person like shivers.
That's very cute.
And like so sometimes like you'll go around and people like be like this.
That's very precious.
Yeah, so like that show, that was like a set tour. Like we had like the touring schedule.
Yes.
So like I've done that and that's really fun. And then like
do you want to bring this over just a little bit?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
So like I've toured in that aspect, but then also like I also consider like when I was nomading and I just kind of was like, I want to go to Portland to go write for a little bit. And then afterwards I'm like gonna go to Puerto Rico, and I'm like just kind of going places and not settling down, like still auditioning and stuff like that. I also consider that to be touring.
Oh yeah.
I just think anytime you're not, I think you're like actively performing or creating and like just not staying in the same spot, whether you're the one producing the tour or like, you know, it's your one person tour, you're in different places, or like you're together with a group. Like I think it's all touring. It's all touring, traveling to me. Yeah, so I've just like done a lot of different aspects, but for like all intents and purposes, I just call it all touring or like all like traveling nomadic life. Yeah. Sometimes I'll call it digital nomad. I think at first it was mostly digital.
I think digital nomad makes sense, especially if you're making like, especially if you work, if a significant part of your job also takes place online. I feel like that makes sense. I like in their Instagram bio, they have they're loosely based in Chicago, which I enjoy.
I like just you.
I know. Because you were like, this doesn't feel true to say that I'm based in this city anymore.
Well, the thing is that I moved there during the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was like, I moved to Chicago in the middle of the pandemic and there was nothing really going on theater-wise. And then all of a sudden, everything that I've booked since I moved to Chicago has been outside of Chicago. When I did the Seattle rep takeover, someone asked me the differences of like working in Chicago versus Seattle. I was like, honestly, I can't tell you what Chicago theater's like. I have not done it yet.
Like I haven't had that opportunity quite yet.
That's kind of been what I've like been up to, like touring wise. And I mean, that's just, you know, day to day what touring's like. That's kind of not really specific to what it's like for me with a disability, which I feel like is also a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah, well, that was the next can of worms that I was going to ask you to open, because it's like touring, especially if you're, you know, into that kind of like nomadic moving around lifestyle, it sounds very fun and exhausting, and I just imagine the additional layer of complexity that's added on when you throw in like a wheelchair and a service dog.
I mean, do you want to know about like what those like kind of like the process of like accommodations looks like and what like the logistics side of it looks like?
Yeah, I would love, like, logistics are fascinating, and then I guess also I imagine you've been doing it for a while, so it's something that you're kind of used to at this point, but it's just like, what is your personal like experience like? Like, are some tours better at accommodating you than others? Is every contract a little different, or are there things that seem consistent across the board?
Yeah, well, I think like what I've done specifically is going to be a little different in different contexts.
Sure.
Just because I've done like my, I guess, resume, for lack of a better word, consists of like not just like strictly theater, but strictly concert dance. Like I've done concert dance work, like musical theater, and like some like straight theater.
Mm-hmm.
And like
you have a very varied resume.
Yeah. It makes it very hard to format.
Yes. But it looks so good now. Your reformatting looks phenomenal.
The logistics side of it looks kind of different depending on what kind of gig it is. And I would say I got lucky most of the time with the concert dance stuff, logistic wise, because I wasn't the only person in a wheelchair. It's a physically integrated company.
Right.
So I was like one of 3 people in a wheelchair in the company. So like the studio is already accessible. Like everywhere they're going, they know that that's the spiel. That's what, you know.
It's kind of like a tenant of
if they like tried to book us in an inaccessible venue, it'd be like, do you know who you're booking?
It's like, do you know who you're working with? Why do you have this company? Yeah, that makes sense.
So that was pretty like taken care of. I mean, like I think, you know, it varied. It had its own kind of qualms, which I kind of like speak to a little bit, like in like the research that I've done on like the presence of disability in dance, and that because there's like so few of it, sometimes dancers are really, disabled dancers at least, are like really kind of made to feel like those disability specific opportunities are like the only ones that like they'll ever get.
Oh, yeah.
And so like I think that like you see this a lot, like I think with younger disabled performers, is that they believe that. And so like it's easier to like take advantage of those performers.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that that's like definitely something that I felt like I struggled with.
Because it's kind of like, this is the best
they'll
get.
I was like told by a boss, like, you should be lucky that I hired you. And I was like, with all due respect.
Fuck you. That like, oh my God, that's
I
so
said,
fucked.
with all due respect, you know, it's a 2-way street. You should be grateful that I also want to work for you.
Yeah.
And I left their office.
Yeah.
And I went home and I wrote my letter of resignation for the company.
Damn. Yep. As you should. Rightfully so. I feel like that's such just like, I think more so in your case, but I think like across the board with acting, I feel like people forget where it's like, no, like you also
you need us.
Me. Like you did hire me. I forget about that a lot when I'm like talking to my agent, because I'm like, I'm such a people pleaser and I like don't want to make my agent mad, and then I'm like, but you do work for me. It's really not the other way around.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I get that twisted a lot. So that's super metal of you to just be like, bye.
I was already kind of on my way out, honestly.
Good,
like
great.
when that happened, that was like one of the like last straws for me. I definitely cannot talk more about that, or my blood will start to boil.
No, oh my God, it's okay. Please.
But like, yeah. So that was like an experience being in like a disability kind of specific place, and then I would say that this gig, like doing Teenage Dick at Seattle Rep, is kind of like somewhere in between that. Well, maybe I should also say what it's in between.
Yeah.
No, so like the Grinch Stole Christmas, that no one like, I don't know how to say this casually. I was the first person in a wheelchair to be in a Broadway national tour.
That's not a casual thing to say. That's awesome. So
and like, you know, like I really honored.
Just like you know.
This is a very casual conversation, but that's not
That's
a very casual
amazing
moment in my life.
Yeah, that should not be a casual moment. Oh my gosh, that's incredible. That's so rad. You should be, I know you are, but I'm like, you should be extremely proud of yourself. That's amazing.
Thank you. That experience was obviously very different because it was not, that kind of opportunity was not really catered to me.
Oh yeah.
And I shout out to Troika, amazing producers. Like, they really took care of me. They really made me feel like included and like I felt like I belonged there.
Oh, amazing.
And it was great. But like I had a great time, but it was very drastically different from me being in a physically integrated company where
right.
like everything, I translated some things, but I didn't have to translate movement as much. Like it was kind of like done for me most of the time.
Yes.
Versus like every day, like,
oh my god, I'm sorry.
On the spot, like, all the choreography
You're just
translating.
Like in your brain, yeah.
Yeah, and then like, there's so many logistics in like that kind of tour. Because
yes.
you don't have a base anymore and you're living out of your suitcase. And like, I was telling Cheyenne just before we started filming, like, I travel with a lot of things. Like, I have my wheelchair, I have my service dog. We have 2 crates.
Mm-hmm.
One for the theater, one for the hotel, and then like we have, his tub of food, and then I have my suitcases, and like,
I'm just saying, I'm like, I get stressed if I have like more than 2 bags with me on any given trip. So
yeah, so it's like it's kind of like a lot to travel with, and so there's that logistic, and it's just making sure that the theaters are accessible. I think touring is one of the hardest. How do I phrase this? I'm not surprised that like someone in a wheelchair had never been in a national tour before until the holiday season, because so many old theaters are inaccessible.
Oh yeah.
So it just like it wasn't really an accessible. Is this the one with water?
Yeah, that's not water. So you just squeeze out.
Yeah.
And then you can either pick up, because this is still pigment that is still totally viable if you want to swirl around in that, you can pick it up. Or you can pick stuff up off the like pans themselves. So
for the record, I am not an artiste like Cheyenne. I'm just making it.
But you're making shit, which is right. So and it looks great.
Oh, good.
You actually may want to wait for this to dry, because it is. I do believe it is waterproof. It just takes a little bit of a moment.
Gotcha.
So you're good. So you can just chill and chat. So.
Yeah, I would just say that like logistically, like a tour like that in old theaters where it's like it's multiple theaters that you're worried about versus like this, I'm at the same theater the whole time.
Yes. So once you figure out a system, it's like locked.
Yeah, but with, the Grinch tour was very different in the sense that we had to make sure that every single theater was accessible. We had to make sure that my dressing room was on the same floor as the stage, because sometimes, or like I think the biggest like logistical thing, at least like with my performance, and like the thing that like everyone kind of had to rally like to make happen, was that some of the crossovers were stairs underneath. So they're not accessible. So what would happen is we would have at the end of a number, it's like, okay, this is version A of our exits. It's like, okay, in North Carolina, in Atlanta, we're going to do version B, and that's gonna look like this. And we're all going to exit off stage right, or something like that.
Yes.
And so it went from, there's like this one part where we had a line, and then we would like split.
Yes.
It changed from that to everyone going on the same side, like in like 8 counts or something.
Oh my god.
So it was a lot of teamwork on that part. But that was because like I just need to be able to get to my dressing room. Yes. So that's just like, I don't know, that's like, I feel like that's kind of like a fun fact.
That is such, that's absolutely, like, because that's the kind of shit, it's like minute, they're really not minute details, but it's that kind of like logistics that you don't think about. Like I never realized, I was like, oh yeah, there are going to be the fact that like it's not just a simple cross act that's just like a simple thing that's in the same plane as the theater.
Yeah.
That never occurred to me. So
it's like, it's kind of interesting, like when people ask me about logistics of it, like some of it is like so ingrained in like my everyday that like I forget like, oh, not everyone like does that, like has to deal with that. No, not every, like actors don't have to like sit down with production and like have a meeting about like their access needs every time they book something. And granted, like I don't have an agent at the moment, actively seeking if anyone's watching. But you know, maybe that's something that like my agent might handle as opposed to me in the future. But as of right now, that is me having that conversation, and you know, it can be an interesting thing to navigate. But I would say that what we're, you know, Teenage Dick, the show that we're working on right now, it's kind of like a happy medium between those two things.
It's also a show about disability. So it's just like, I think it would be kind of absurd if like they hired, you know, 4 disabled actors and they were like not thinking of like accommodations or access.
Like, so I think that when I did the national tour of Grinch, it was like, that's a space that there's generally in the past not really been a wheelchair user or a person with a disability in that space.
Yes.
But like they were willing to accommodate and like make happen. And then like the other space was like, you know, access needs and all that. That was just ingrained into how they produce things, how they book things. Like they have a lot of experience with that because it's been like that for 40 years. And in this, you have the willingness from, you know, the people who are making the production happen to like accommodate disability. But I think the costume folks were telling me that there hasn't been a performer like in a wheelchair at Seattle Rep.
I mean, I've only been in this city for a while, but that doesn't seem difficult to believe. So like that makes sense to me.
There are some things like with tour like that felt like really significant, like being the first, but like it's not uncommon for me to like go into a space and be like one of the first actors in a wheelchair that like a production company has, I don't want to say dealt with because they're not dealing with worked with. Right. Because it was a show about disability and there were multiple people with disabilities, they kind of had a lot to like bounce off of.
Yes.
But because, you know, it's not something that they've worked with a lot in the past, that, you know, it came up against like a lot of like the same kind of conversations that I felt I was having when I went on tour with the Grinch. So this has kind of been like an interesting medium, and I definitely like the out of town contract. This is my first.
Nice.
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever like gotten a contract to like go somewhere for like a significant amount of time and like perform a show.
You're like, we're gonna put you up in a hotel, we're gonna like take care of your meals and your transport and everything.
Yeah, I mean, just basically like having the accommodations taken care of, it makes it.
I think you might be good to go.
Okay.
So, I realized I was like, oh, they're not painting.
That definitely like makes it a whole lot easier. Because that's the hardest part. When when I was talking about like, even when I'm the one like producing it, taking care of my own accommodations, like going places, like I still kind of consider that touring.
Yes.
I like that. It's definitely a little bit more stressful though as a person with a disability, like being a digital nomad, because they're, most Airbnbs are not accessible.
Yeah.
So, you're just looking for a different kind of stuff. It's going to cost a little more money, or you're going to like be sacrificing like accessibility, which I used to do in the past sometimes, and now I'm kind of like, I don't want to do that if I can help it.
Yes. I think
sometimes when it's like a short period of time, I'm like, okay, I can like deal with this like one step to like get in. But sometimes I'm just like, no, I really don't want to deal with that.
I don't want to have to do this. Thank you. So that's awesome. I just
that
can't
was
get
quite a long tangent.
No, that was great. I mean, God, I do nothing but go on tangents. So, that is so metal that you are the first like wheelchair user on a national tour, ever on like a Broadway national tour. Like that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's like one of those things like.
How did you go about booking that job?
I submitted on Actors Access.
Amazing.
And they said, please do these materials. And then I did. And then it was so funny. Want to hear a funny story about that?
Yeah, of course I do.
I submitted for like Who Children. I I submit like I think a song and like the dance combination.
Mm-hmm.
And like I think during that process I had like said to someone like my resume is like all children. It's all kids and freaks. If you look at it, like that is my. I don't know if I go. I don't really want to put it out into the universe that that's my type, but that's what the world thinks is my type. And it was so funny because I had submitted for this Who thing, and I was like, I don't care if I get like a child in this. I will be so stoked to book this if I book this.
Absolutely.
Regardless of the character. But it was so funny. I put into the universe that all I ever do is play kids, and then like 2 seconds later, I get a like an Actors Access message saying, or maybe it was an email. I think they were like, "Oh, we loved your tapes. We just want to like try a few things. We'd love you to read for Grandma Who."
How different! Oh
so
my god!
Totally opposite direction. Yeah. So
how exciting!
So I read for Grandma Who too, and then like a few weeks later, I got the call or email that I booked it.
Oh.
So that was like really exciting, and I was like over the moon because it's like it's weird now. Like it feels so weird now to talk about it so casually. Yeah. Because like I can talk about it now because it's just what I was doing like a couple months ago, and I'm just like talking about what I did a few months ago.
Right.
But literally like up until that point that I booked that, like my whole life since I was 13 has literally just been working towards this goal of being in a national tour. So like to talk about it so casually right now is like so surreal, Yeah. Like it's just like, man, like I wanted that for like a really long time. And like it just like happened, Like I don't know, it's like kind of when I think about it like that, I'm just like, wow, that happened.
That's like that is so that's so cool. That's amazing.
It was also really nice. It was my first show back after the pandemic.
Oh wow!
So, the first number in the show, I sing off stage,
Mm-hmm.
and then like I go on like towards the end of the number. But like that part where we were all singing off stage, I was just like bawling the whole time. Like on opening night, I was like, I'm back doing theater and in my dream job. I'd be crying too. I mean, a lot of people were crying. There were a lot of people making their national tour debut, and there were, a lot of people that was their first show back. So that in itself, like,
it's so
had everyone a little teary-eyed.
I know. I love this is my first show in 3 years. So like, I remember going into the costume shop before I even got like into rehearsals, because like as an understudy, I started rehearsals like 2 weeks after everybody else. Like I walked into the costume shop and I had to like work so hard to keep myself from crying because I was like, I can't believe I'm here. Also, it's like I'm working at the Rep, which is like wild and incredible.
Oh yeah,
and so exciting.
That too. I know. It's like we're talking casually about like Seattle rap, and I'm just like, dude, I did not think I was gonna book this. Like I don't know about you, but I was just like when they had me like audition, I was just like, I will gladly audition.
You're like, all right, sure.
And then like I didn't hear for a while. I'd like totally like given up on it. I had like gotten another offer and like taken it. And then like when I got offered this, I like told the other people like, so sorry, I think I really need to go do this other show.
Yes.
And they totally understood, but like I was not expecting it whatsoever.
Because like I remember thinking last fall, I was like, man, I really want to get back into theater. It's been so long. What? Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. they got blue pigment on the white paint, and they were like, you're fine.
Well, I was going like this, trying to get the water to come on it, and then I realized it was just pouring.
Yeah, because it kind of comes out the side. It's not they're handy, they're not very graceful. So,
okay.
You're fine. I was thinking last fall, and I was just like, God, I miss being in the theater. I was like, I haven't even like been to any like online shows. I haven't really interacted with anyone in the community in such a long time because I'm very good at kind of just holing up in my apartment and like not talking to people. So I pretty much just like, I really am I'm a bit of a hermit. And the pandemic made it so easy to just like completely get into that side of myself. But I was like, how am I gonna get back into theater here? And then I got 2 emails from the like casting associate at Seattle Rep, and I was like, what? And they were inviting me to audition for Teenage Dick and for Ghosts, which is the show that's opening up like right after hours. And I was like, oh my God, they remember me. They know who I am. Because I've gone in and I've worked for them once before doing like a stage reading. It was just like internal, but I was like, they remembered me. And then I got released from both of the casting processes after callbacks. And on my like rejection email from Teenage Dick, they were like, however, Seattle Rep is going to start using like understudies this year. Would you like to be considered or would you like to be considered for an understudy role? And I was like, hell yeah, okay. And then I forgot about it for a month. And then I got a call on my way into the grocery store. And I was like, what? And they were like, we want you to understudy Clarissa, Miss York, and Anne. And I was like, done, totally.
Which if you know the show, that's like half the characters.
Yes. It is all the like femme characters that are not in a wheelchair. So, and so I fully expected when I got to the theater on like the first day, all the understudies were there and we're introducing ourselves. And it's like, Richard's understudy is like, hi, I'll be understudying Richard. And then it's, hi, I'll be understudying Eddie. Hi, I'll be understudying Buck, which is Meredith's character. And then I was like, hi, I'll be understudying the other 3 characters in the show. So, because I fully expected that everyone else was always also going to be on multiple tracks. And so that was when I found out that that was not the case. And I was like, okay. But all things considered, it's been very, very fun. And like, everyone's been so cool and kind during the process. And we actually have we have our last understudy run through tomorrow, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah.
So I'm going to play. I basically just like, we're doing it without costumes. So it means that I could basically go on stage and be one character in one scene, then go off stage, put on like a cardigan, and then come on as like Anne in the next one. Because I was like, I'll be Miss York in the first scene, then I come on as Anne, and then I go off stage as Anne, get all of Clarissa's props, and come on and do her little like...
How is that like in your head, like tracking wise? Like tracking them separately, you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Because since like you don't often practice them one at a time, like do you find that's hard to remember like your backstage traffic?
I feel like I just kind of go over it before every show, and I think that if I was filling in for, like if I got the email or the call that it's like, hey, you're gonna be filling in for whoever tonight, I'm able to just like kind of compartmentalize like what exactly their track looks like as I get slightly more familiar with like all the props live and stuff and all the costume changes. I am very lucky in that I have a pretty easy time like memorizing things. And so basically once we started doing run-throughs and I'm basically just able to sit off stage and like mouth all of the words, just like sitting in the house and with my mask on and just like saying all the lines as everyone else is saying them, it just helped me basically practice. And I feel after we had our first understudy like full run through like 2 weeks ago, we had like costumes and lights and sound and everything. And it was amazing because I got home from that and I was like, I am fully confident that if I needed to fill in for anyone, I would be able to do so.
That's great.
Which was like a relief to me because I was like, what if I don't have this? What if I've been tricking myself and that I have this better memorized than I do? But lo and behold, I got all my lines down. So it's very exciting. Yeah, this is like my first professional understudy gig.
I was just about to ask.
Yeah, because I like understudied in college for like one show when I was like a sophomore. I did not take that as seriously as I should have because again, I was like 19 years old and it was at my college and I was like, it's fine.
I've never met an understudy in college who took their understudy role as seriously as a professional. So I don't think you're alone in that.
Thank you. I was also like, it was wild because like I was a swing and so I was covering I was the only female understudy. So it was for Measure for Measure, Shakespeare's Measure for Measure. So I was covering all the female roles in that show. And I had to fill in like once in rehearsal. And that was it.
I don't know, maybe you disagree, but I think that COVID also like really made put the pressure.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Because like you just never know. I mean, I guess you never know always, but like
especially when you're working in close proximity with so many people every single day, I think that plays a huge part of it. And it's also like if one of the cast members gets COVID, they're out for like a week, 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's not one
like,
or two shows until they have enough of a voice to come back.
Yeah, or it's like, oh, they got really bad food poisoning or whatever. Yeah. But it's just like, so I think that's also the thing, because it's like, well, someone goes out, it means that I'm filling in for them for 2 weeks, so I better know my shit. So.
Oh, is it 2 weeks?
Well, I feel like accounting for time of like because you have to, I think, test negative like 5 days in a row to like make sure that it's completely out of your system.
Yeah, I guess we didn't really talk about that part. Of
Yeah.
It, like if someone did.
Yeah, if someone did. We've also been like testing every single day when we get to the theater. We have to remain like the mandate in Seattle. I think I talked about this in like a video I made for my Patreon, but it's like the mandate in Seattle has been lifted, which has been surreal. It's the recording thing. So it was not in fact the recording site blinking. It was indeed my memory card saying that it was empty. So that's fine. What are we talking about?
That's a good cue.
I think I was just talking about my understudy stuff, but it's been so this I think just further cemented to me that like actually disabled actors like don't get the work that they should, because when my friends came and saw the show, they were shocked to learn that like you were actually a wheelchair user.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, you know, Meredith's actually a wheelchair user, as is their understudy. And they were like, oh, and I was like, yeah, you know, our lead like actually has CP and like his understudy is also disabled. And they were like, wow, cool. And I was like, yeah, I forget that. I guess that's not a given, but.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things that it's like, it's still so cool and like such, yeah, it's like so rad and so cool when you see it because it's still so rare.
Yes. Yeah.
Which like.
Also, I like the glitter on your face. I just noticed it. It's very cute.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can imagine that's why the feeling of like, it is rad because it is still rare. That's also like in a note in the Teenage Dick script when you read it at the bottom of the page, when it's just like, hire disabled actors for Buck and Richard, they exist. And I was like, fuck yeah, they do. So I thought that was a really cool note on behalf of the playwright.
I think it's good, and like,
because it's like,
I also think it's on, if I'm being blunt, like I think it's part of the reason why this show's not done more often. Because people just, I don't know, don't think that they'll be able to like find someone capable. And I think, you know, it depends on where you're at, obviously, and what kind of budget you have. But yeah, no. We're out here.
Yeah.
We exist.
We out here.
We may seem like a unicorn, but we're really not. Did Erica tell you what her dad thought?
Yeah, that she was the one in the wheelchair. He was like,
Erica's one of our castmates who plays Miss York.
And her parents were streaming because we offer like streaming tickets for the show as well, and her parents were watching it, and her dad was like very impressed with how she maneuvered the wheelchair, and I was like, he has to be joking, right? And apparently he wasn't, because he thought that Meredith's voice sounded similar to Erica's, like over the mics or something. And I think that's very funny because y'all look absolutely nothing alike in any way. I'm like, you're both white and that's pretty much it. So
it's a good one.
It's a good one. I'm like, to his credit, you do maneuver your wheelchair very, very well.
Oh, it's lots of practice.
Yeah. It's just like, I remember the one day in rehearsal when Malika was like, I love the way you take corners. And I was like, you're not wrong. But I was like, they don't even think about it, I'm sure. You're like, I'm just doing the blocking you gave me. This has been it's been a really it's just been, oh God, it's been so good to just be like back in the theater and back in rehearsal, because it's a part of my life that I've neglected for so long, just because I've been focusing on like all of this stuff, so
which is
gestures
vaguely amazing.
Yeah, and it absolutely like fills my like artistic soul, etc. You know, it is okay. Hello. Okay, I did something weird with my arm. Being in like a full theater show that isn't just like a one-off day on like a commercial set or something, I'm like, oh, that's right. This is something that I really love to do, and that I'm good at, and that I miss. And so it's made me want to like actually maybe start auditioning for stuff again. Yeah, particularly it just really made me, I just really miss theater work specifically. It's like film work is one thing, but I think
there's just like, there's different pros and cons.
Yes.
both.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think that, like, for me, I just love live theater because of that. Because of, like, the energy that you get to feed off with the audience, the process of, like, sitting in the rehearsal room and working with people and just, like, forming that kind of camaraderie, which I feel like can be really, like, hit or miss, I feel like, on film. Because it's, like, having worked on a feature film now where I was, like, on location for a month, I'm kind of like, I think I like theater more. Also in theater, I'm not like hyper aware of what my face looks like at all times, because like that was the biggest thing for doing film, where like me and the dude who was playing opposite me, we would finish filming a scene and he would immediately go over to Video Village so he could like watch his tapes back, and I was like, absolutely not. I was like, if I have any idea of like what my face looks like, I'm gonna get real caught up in that, like my eyebrows doing something weird, and then that's all I'm gonna be able to focus on in the next take. Whereas like with theater, I don't really have a chance to focus on that.
Your eyes can wander, and
your eyes can I know. Your eyes can wander. Every moment is fleeting. No one can pause. And
the only time it matters when your eyes are moving is when you're supposed to be frozen and they say the name of your character and you know everyone's gonna be looking at you and you just try not to blink or move your eyes, and that's pretty much the only time it matters.
Are you speaking from personal experience, Max?
No,
Not at all.
Specific.
That was super like not specific.
That was not specific to Teenage Dick at all.
No,
I don't have to do a freeze frame right next to a fog machine every night.
I forget where is the fog? I feel like I don't see the fog.
It's subtle, but it's coming.
Is it in the last scene and during the freeze frame?
Yeah, it's during the freeze frame, and it's like in the very last scene, it's coming from downstage left and right, I think, or at least from downstage left, because I'm like here.
Okay,
and
I
it's
feel
like right over here.
I don't know if they did the fog machine during our understudy run, because I feel like it must be real subtle, because usually when there's a fog machine, I get very excited. So
yeah, it's like I don't see it as much as I feel it in my eyeballs.
You don't have to see to believe. You're like, I can feel it. Oh my god, bless your heart. I know, it's also like Erica decides to keep, her freeze frame is when like her eyes are like wide open, and she's like, I pretty much just cry every night. And I'm like, oh, is it because Michael, don't mind us just talking about super specific moments from a play y'all are never gonna see. But I was like, oh, is it from like the choreography of when like Michael gets run over and all of this stuff? And she's like, well, it's kind of that, because he makes absolutely terrible sounds, but it's mostly because my eyes are just wide open and I can't blink for 2 minutes. And I was like, well, who made that decision, Erica? I was like, this is a fate that you have brought upon yourself.
Yeah, I also cry similarly, because I am next to the fog machine.
No pleasure.
Oops.
Yeah,
Not my wisest decision. Although I
wow, that looks great.
Does that look good?
I want to make sure y'all can. Yeah, move it that way. There we go. Yeah, look at that. Incredible. Yeah, so good.
Should I like sign it?
Yes, absolutely. You should sign it. Jeez.
Where do you sign it? I'm not.
I usually sign bottom right. Everyone
Bottom
has something
right.
different. So I would even sign it like right here.
Right here.
Because I sometimes will go along the shapes of whatever it is I've drawn.
Do you just initially do your whole name?
I do my whole name.
Second.
Yeah, that's perfect. Fantastic. Do you want to put the date and the year?
Oh, what's today's date?
It's the 29th. 29th. Because, yep.
Voila.
Yeah, there we go. Fantastic. Oh, it looks so good. Okay, fantastic. I'm going to just finish the center of this gray square. And then it's just like, I love this blanket pattern. It's so beautiful when it's all done, but my God, it takes so long, because granny squares just take, they're like one of the easier things, they're like one of the easiest things to do in crochet. It's like one of the first things you learn, but they just take so long. So making a blanket out of them is like really and truly a labor of love, but it looks so good afterwards. So, and then I'll add that on later, but great. I think I mean, that's great for me. I don't know if there's like any, like this has been so fun and delightful. We're also going to be filming a video for their channel. So the link will be in the description if you, if you want to check out their channel for our collab over there. But yeah, I don't know, any parting words to Scout? Scout is asleep.
Scout is very asleep. I don't want to wake him up.
No, don't wake him up. Absolutely not.
Parting words.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything you just want to say as like a goodbye thing. You don't have to. If you have nothing, you can just smile and wave.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Have a good one, y'all. Bye. Goodbye. Oh my god, great work.
Thanks.
Fantastic.
That was chill.
Yeah.
That was stress free.
Great.